Hello everyone, I am Payal. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more interesting video like this. So today's topic is very interesting and very important. Psychology fact versus fiction. What's really says science. Many times on social media we hear statement like this is a psychology fact or science says this, but it is really true. In this slide, we will clearly understand what is real psychology fact and what is just fiction or myth based on science, not rumors. So watch this video till the end because some facts may surprise you. Let's get started. So now let's understand a very important question. What is psychological fact? A psychological fact is not a random idea and not something people just feel or guess. A psychological fact is information supported by science. This information is collected using the scientific method, which means psychologists test, observe and measure things properly. Now let me explain this in very simple points. First, it is based on empirical evidence. Empirical evidence means real proof, things we can see, test and measure, not imagination. Second, it is replicable. That means if the same study is done again by other scientists, they get similar results. Third, it is published in peer-reviewed journals. This means other experts check the research before it is accepted. And most important, it is based on data, not just personal opinion or observation. Like research show that regular exercise reduces stress and many studies prove the same result, then these become a psychological fact. So remember, real psychology fact always come from science, data and evidence, not from social media posts. Let's move the to the next slide. So now let's talk about the other side. What is psychological fiction? Psychological fiction means ideas that sound scientific but are actually not fully true or misunderstood. Let's look at two very popular examples. First, fiction, the 10% myth. You might have heard people say we only use 10% of our brain, but this is not true. Neuroscience clearly shows that we use almost all part of our brain just at different times and for different tasks. So, this 10% ideas is a myth, not science. Second, fiction, brain dominance. Another common belief is left brain means logic, right brain means creativity. This is also oversimplified and incorrect. In reality, both the left and right hemisphere work together for almost every task, whether it is thinking, learning, or creating. So, what's the lesson here? If something sounds interesting but has no strong scientific evidence, then it is psychology fiction, not fact. That's why we should always check, is this based on research or just a popular belief? In the next part, we will learn how to identify real psychology fact easily, so stay tuned. So now you might be thinking, if these psychology ideas are false, then why do so many people believe them? Let's understand this step by step. First reason, social media. On social media, information spread very fast. People share posts without checking whether the information is true or not. Second reason, virality. Simple and shocking statement go viral easily. For example, you use only 10% of your brain, sounds exciting, so people share it more. And third reason is oversimplification. Real psychology is complex, but myth explain thing is a very simple way. So they feel easy to understand, even if they are wrong. And one very important point, algorithm reward catchy content, not correct content. That means social media platform promote posts that get more likes, comments and shares, not posts that are scientifically accurate. So just because something is a popular does not mean it is true. In the next slide, we will learn how to separate real psychology fact from myth. So keep watching. So this is one very powerful because it's clear shows fiction versus fact. So now let's do a direct comparison between psychological fiction and psychological fact. I want you to look at this slide carefully. First, fiction, myth. Many people believe that memory works like a video camera. That's whatever we see, our brain recorded exactly. But this is not true. Another myth says opposites attract in romance. In reality, this does not work strongly in long-term relationship. And one more common belief is venting anger is healthy, also called catharsis. But science shows that uncontrolled venting can actually make anger worse, not better. Now, let's see the facts, evidence based. Memory is reconstructive and fallible. This means our brain rebuild memory and sometimes changes detail without us notices. Similarity predict long-term success. People with similar values, habits and goals usually have more stable relationships. And venting often increases future aggression. Instead of calming us down, it can train the brain to react with more anger later. What feels true is not always scientifically true. Psychological facts are based on research data and evidence, not emotions or popular beliefs. Now, let's look at something very important, beliefs in myth versus scientific awareness. As you can see on this slide, there is a large gap between what people believe and what research actually says. On one side, many people strongly believe in popular psychology myth, things they hear on social media from friends or in movies. On the other side, scientific awareness is much lower. This means most people are not aware of what research and science have already proven. So the big message here is simple: popular belief does not equal scientific fact. The more we depend on verified research and evidence, the smaller this gap becomes. That's why learning psychology from credible sources is very important. So, now the most important question: how can we think critically? Whenever you hear a psychology claim online, don't believe it immediately. First, check the source, ask yourself, is this claim coming from a peer revived study or just a random post on social media? Second, avoid oversimplification. If something sounds too easy or too perfect, it probably is not fully true. Real psychology is complex. And third, trust evidence, not opinions. Look for data, experiment, and research, not just personal stories. And always remember to you ask one powerful question: where is the data? Final message is being smart is not about knowing everything, it's about asking the right question. If you start thinking critically, you'll stop believing myth and start understanding real psychology. So, now let's understand something very important. Believing psychology myth is not harmless, it actually affects our real life. Let's see how. Mental health. When people believe myth, they may do poor self diagnosis based on social media trends. This can delay real help and treatment. Second, education. Many students invest time and money in so called learning styles that research shows don't really work. This can slow down real learning. And third is relationship. People build expectation based on fiction, like opposites always attract. When reality does not match these ideas, relationships can suffer. Now, wrong psychology information can lead to wrong decisions. That's why understanding science based psychology is not just interesting, it's necessary. Now, let's understand key takeaways, facts. Psychology is powerful but only when used correctly. This means we should use psychology based on real science, not viral myths. Don't let viral fiction overshadow scientific evidence. Social media spread fake psychology tips always. Check facts before believing or sharing. Basically, be curious but trust research, not rumors. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Until then, stay curious, stay kind.